We are what we eat, Hippocrates said once. He believed that human diseases are the result of nutritional chaos of everyone. And what do you think? Hippocrates is right? The human journey of weight management, finding a balance and sustainable health. Today we're going to talk about all these aspects, and I'm pleased to welcome here to our podcast Healthy Conversation an expert nutritionist and my friend Sandija. Sandija, nice to meeting you.
Thank you for having me.
I have a question behind your profession. So what was the first input in your experience, why you decided to become a nutritionist?
My biggest inspiration actually was my dancing trainer. We were in a sauna talking about the future. So what are your plans? What are you planning to become? And I was always dreaming to become a doctor, but I was actually pretty lazy at that point. And I was thinking it's going to take too long of a time to study, 6 years, and then the residency. So she offered me to look at this option that they have a nutritionist program just starting in Riga. Maybe that's something that I would be interested in. And she made me look into it.
Okay. So it was so easy decision for you?
No, it was the first seed. And then I started looking into it, and the closer the period came.
More curious, right?
Yeah.
And if we talk about nutrition as a professional, so what do you think? Is it a must-have to visit nutrition for anybody, or it's necessity?
I think it depends, of course, of the person. There has to be a need. It shouldn't be something that someone pushes you into, that someone tells you you should visit a nutritionist, because it's always going to be, a pretty tough change for the person. It's not going to be something that the person cannot want and someone would push him into. So if a person wants to change something either in their diet or their health, there have to be a need and a want. If a person wants to change something, then I would say everyone should visit a nutritionist, because there's always something that we can improve. Even in my diet, there's always some improvements that I could, do better. So I think in any profession, any health condition, any, professional sports, or even a health condition, there's some improvements we can adjust by, adjusting the nutrition, supplements, daily habits. So there's a lot of things we can improve. But it's always becomes, it's very important for that person to want it himself, because you cannot come and visit a nutritionist and then, assume that everything's going to happen now, since that visit, it's going to go into the right direction. There's always has to be a lot of work put in from that person himself.
So mainly it comes from the motivation of the person.
Exactly.
Well, to me, it sounds like a must-have, because if you want to understand your nutrition habits and possible nutrition changes in your daily style, it might be very helpful.
I believe that, I would say 70-80% of problems, start with unhealthy nutrition, and it's our body's, basic fuel, everything we put inside our body. So even if you buy an expensive car, you would put in cheap petrol and cheap things for the car, and most likely the car will, stop working or eventually have some problems, or the red light will come into the panel and something's going to go off. So the same with the body, but our body not always sends the signals, so we think everything is fine. But there's so much we can do with good food, good supplements. So most of the things you probably are fighting now by using medicine, using some things, you have to see the doctor, you have some pain or chronic pain or whatever you're struggling with. There's, a large possibility that we can fix that just by fixing what you eat.
All right. Well, I really like this example of the car, but let's be honest, we treat cars better than ourselves.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That's the basic truth. We have available a lot of diets and a lot of influencers in the internet and Instagram. They are teaching us how to eat. What does it mean to you, healthy eating?
If we talk about influencers, I wouldn't say that all of them are talking nonsense, or just because they maybe don't have the right education. They actually, they have the, even motivation to speak it loudly and tell things that maybe you should change. It's not always bad. You can listen to some of the advice, but the problem maybe is that the information is so much that an average person could get lost. So they go on social media, they listen to this podcast, that podcast, one person, another one. So a lot of the information gives them mixed information in general. So it's chaotic a little bit, and sometimes they don't know what to eat and which one is the right direction. That gives a lot of confusion. So it's too much information. So sometimes it's good to trust one person. Either they choose a nutritionist or whatever person, a doctor, someone they should follow and they would listen to and trust, because the information is too much and it's sometimes very controversial. So it's going to be one opinion against the other and people just get confused. So that's about, the influential part. For me, healthy nutrition is, it's a very, complicated question to ask. It's so much. I don't even know which part to begin with. I think it's very personalized, so you cannot tell what one thing is. Personalization is going to be always going to be the key. You cannot put 10 people in a row and tell the same thing is going to work for everyone. So you have to listen to the person, listen to their symptoms, listen to what their experience was since they came to see me, what are the goals, okay, and how they want to feel and what they have tried. So it's going to be a mix of everything. So I can explain into details what I take into consideration, but I think we'll get to that.
Yeah, right? I think you just listed those aspects like personalization, goals, and behaviors and symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is more than enough explaining what does it mean healthy. Sandija, could you please explain briefly about sustainable weight management, that it's so much more complex than calories in and calories out, and especially if we take on consideration a holistic approach to the nutrition, that it's much more important to look on the other aspects as well.
Yeah, so of course, calories in and calories out is not a wrong method. I could never say it's the only method we can look at. So I actually work a little different. So I normally take in consideration the macronutrients, which is of course more important. I can give you a simple example. If you would have a diet of 1,500 calories, which you can consume from, let's say, one type of products. Let's mention carbohydrates, chips or something unhealthy, or cookies, and then the other person would eat 1,500 calories with healthy fats and protein, let's say eggs, nuts, avocados, add some fish. So they would have same amount of calories, completely different outcomes to the body. Of course, we need to understand that calorie is not a calorie. Depending on which macronutrient it comes from, it has completely different effect to the body. It's breaking down in the body completely differently. It takes different times. For example, protein will burn around 30% of the calories while being processed. So for us to absorb 100 grams of protein, it will take around 30% of those 100 grams just to process the protein. So that will already be one example why 100 calories of protein will never be 100 calories of carbohydrates. So it's just one example. And of course, the timing as well. So different macronutrients are better used in different periods of day. For example, if you consume too much carbohydrates in the end of the day, closer to the evening, most likely your body will store the energy. If you will consume more carbohydrates in the morning, most likely you will use that energy. So you can never look at just calories. There's a lot of aspects, a lot of things such as, also the timing of in which order you take in the calories. If you consume carbohydrates first and then you consume protein, it will increase your blood glucose a lot higher and a lot faster than if you would consume protein first and healthy fats second, and then consume carbohydrates. So the order of taking those nutrients, it will change as well.
Okay.
So it's just few examples, what I'm saying. But if you look at it holistically, it's can never be calories in and calories out. It's too simple. It's too easy. It doesn't work like that. Our body is a lot more complex. We have a lot of not just minerals, vitamins, and also amino acids we need daily. We also need a lot of other tips and tricks to maintain a healthy weight, healthy diet, healthy mindset, and everything which comes after.
So this means to me that every person should know at least the basics of these knowledges.
Yeah, the problem probably is that people don't, most likely a lot of people don't know information such as what are the differences between those macronutrients. When they go into the store, they get confused. They don't know which products to choose and what combinations to choose, which products to consume in the first part of the day, which products to consume after gym, after evening meal, and they don't understand the basic mixtures of those. So of course the problem goes back to school system. Ideally this information should be in the first 4 years of a child's life. They should know maths, they should know English, they should know Latvian, they should know whatever their basics need, but they should also know what kind of fuel they should put in their bodies. They should understand the differences so they can make their own choices. Otherwise, they look into their parents, whatever the parents consume, they think it's okay. So depending on the structure of the family and their habits, that's how the child will grow up. So I think it should be basic information. So knowledge should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
In very early age. Kids are actually very interested in that. So I'm getting more and more clients when the child is asking to their parents, "Can you take me to a nutritionist? I want to understand what can I eat?" Yeah.
And what's the age of the youngest your client?
Probably about 11, 12 years old. We have younger kids, but their idea doesn't come from themselves. It comes from the parents, but sometimes it comes from themselves as well. Either they get some bad comments at school, someone tells something, bad about their physical appearance, or they feel bad themselves, or they cannot achieve or do things at school maybe other kids can. So they start to feel that something is not right. They, of course, start to look at the, possible outcomes. And kids are very smart. They're, very bright. And if you know how to explain things, they actually understand information better than the parent, because normally the consultation, I always have them both. So I never talk to the parent. I talk to them first. And then I glimpse at the mom or dad sitting there and ask him, "So do you approve?" They're like, okay.
So their kids can
They're very bright.
teach
They can understand things, and they can tell to their mom, you do things, I told you not to do this, and you giving me that. So they they're quick learners, because they don't have that much information in their brain yet. So as grown-ups, we tend to forget things. So whatever we will get in that consultation, we will forget 70% as soon as we walk out. It's different with children, because they have a lot of information span and they can absorb things quickly, and the things which they are interested in, if they come of their own motivation or their own interest, they would actually pay attention to what I say. I keep things simple, and we create a system, and they have very good results.
So as our body ages, within the time our metabolism slows down.
It does.
Shall we consider changing also nutrition during all our lives?
It is a very complicated subject, and there are two things we need to understand. Males and females' body is basically two different species. Male's body is a lot more simple for aging processes, for metabolism, and for weight changes regarding age. So the testosterone level drops basically pretty much the same throughout the whole life. It goes down within every year, but it goes down in a linear position. Yep. So it's never going to drop really quick. As soon as women's menstrual cycle changes around 45, 50, depends on the woman, maybe 55, 60. So menopause either happens or is premenopause period. Yep. Yeah. Women's aging process drops down for 40% faster than males. So basically, males do live longer. Unfortunately, women live longer. Did I say it right?
Yes, females live longer.
Sorry.
But their aging process somehow goes faster.
Exactly. So females do live longer, but their healthy lifespan is a lot worse than males. It's because the menopause.
Okay.
So the menopause affects basically everything from A to Z. So if we're talking about nutrition, as soon as the menopause kicks in, a lot of hormonal changes do happen in a women's body. Their weight gain most likely will affect more than for a male. So it's very crucial to have a very healthy diet at around age of 40, 50, 55. So it's very important for them to understand the products and the differences. It's not something that we just need to accept that I have menopause and I will gain weight and there's nothing I can do. There's a lot of things we can do, but we need to go through everything, starting from blood work, nutrition supplements, sleep, water, exercise, and nutrition has to be very well balanced to maintain a healthy metabolism and to have less effects from any menopausal, breakouts she would have throughout the years anyway. So what I'm trying to say, female's body is a lot more complicated than a male's body. Males tend to have better results with weight loss regardless of their age if they follow the diet. Women's menstrual cycle and weekly changes of hormonal cycle is a lot more complex. So it's actually harder to work with women than with men. If we talk about, anything regarding health,
Achieving
some results.
Goals.
Yes, but I don't know if I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you answered a question, but also to my mind came another question. If the person knows about all these aspects, so this person is educated, can this person do something in terms of prevention?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, such as nutrition supplements. NAD+ is the newest probably trend in the world. Also in Latvia, we just began using it. So it's basically an energy molecule which will help your body think that you are younger than your biological age. So it will start up every process in your body, reduce the cell aging, reduce every inflammation process in your body. But there's a lot of things you need to consider before you start an NAD infusion, such as how much exercise you do daily, do you use alcohol, what kind of unhealthy habits you have. What I'm trying to say, if the person is very unhealthy, lacks exercising, has a poor diet, has a lot of carbohydrates in their diet, use a lot of alcohol, most likely the effects of NAD is going to be not positive, rather negative. So we need to basically begin with putting the person on a very healthy diet, daily exercise. It doesn't have to be gym, it can be just walking and,
Sandija, from your message, as far as I understood, that every person who ages and wants to become a more healthier has all tools, information available to react proactively.
Mm-hmm.
Just be on the same page with the preventions concept, and how does it fit with the aging techniques?
So as we actually talked before the interview a little bit, you mentioned there are people who haven't visited doctor for 20 years. Well, hopefully those people, the amount of those people reduces every year because they understand the basics and the need of, doing something before actually something happens. We are very used to just visiting a doctor when you have some actual physical pain or some physical problem you cannot live with any longer. Now, more and more, we talk about anti-aging and what does that mean? What does anti-aging mean for me? It means that we look at our body as a system. We need to do regular checkups regardless if we have any problems or we don't. And as we actually talked with you as well, that there are so many things and so many ways which we can do, starting from age 30, 35, 40. There's no number we can begin with because there's always something we can check and something we can improve for that person. So we only have to have that, push or a need to start something.
Yeah, I think you are completely right, and body is quite responsive.
Yeah,
It's quite responsive in terms of actions. If you do,
as sooner you begin, the better. Of course, if you have lived your life for, let's say, 45 years and you have had a very unhealthy lifestyle, very unhealthy nutrition, I'm not saying that you're hopeless now. We cannot help you. We cannot fix you. We can, but it's going to take a longer period of time. It's going to take more effort of the person as well. Has to have a lot of motivation. It's going to, ask a lot from that person to change habits, which he or she has had for 40 years, and it's very hard to change some, old patterns. If you begin early, it's like brushing your teeth, and you just know you have to brush your teeth before you go to bed. Regardless how tired we are, we're mostly going to go and brush our teeth. So it has to be as simple as putting in some small efforts, small steps. So it's also knowledge. Also very important, who do you visit? If you come and see an anti-aging specialist or you come and see a nutritionist, it's very important that the person looks at you holistically, not just looking at one point. Okay, you have excess weight and high cholesterol. Those are just 2 points. We need to look at everything else, how the person sleeps, what the person thinks, what is his mindset around, how much stress he has in his, everyday life, regardless at home or at work. Has to be something we look at completely holistically, because it's going to affect everything. Not just nutrition, it's going to affect his sleep quality, how good he recovers, how good he, can even think in his everyday life. So it's a lot of points. It's very important to have a person who looks at you at a whole picture, not just one option. If you come and see a doctor, they normally concentrate on whatever problem you come and see them. So if we talk about anti-aging, well, it has to look at everything from A to Z as much as possible from one position.
Yeah, so we still have a fragmented approach to our problems, our body problems. But if we are talking about average person, I don't know, individual, me the same. We look for quick rewards when we start in something doing, and we also want quick changes. What you would advise to start with for the person who struggle with the weight management
there has to be a structure. So we are actually, as humans, we are used to having a system which is sometimes good and sometimes not so good for us. So either you work a job from 9 to 5, or you get up in the morning, we have some kind of system, or we brush our teeth in the morning and in the evening. That's also a system. It's a procedure. We should have that same approach regarding nutrition. So you need to firstly look at your day and understand either you will have 3 meals a day, you will have 2 meals a day, you will have 1 meal a day, but you decide what's going to be your structure, how you're going to plan your day, and you need to stick to that system. So if you decide that you will have, let's say, 3 meals a day, and you will decide to have breakfast, you do not skip the breakfast. So you do not skip the breakfast regardless, you will always have the breakfast. Then you need to stick up some regularity. So my first tip is to organize a day. Decide how many meals you're going to have a day. The first problem we will have is the person wakes up in the morning, hasn't got time. So one day he has breakfast, another day he doesn't. Then he has coffee, then he has a snack. So it's already off the balance. So we stick to the system, decide if we have a meal, we have a meal, then we have a gap in between the meals. I'm completely against snacking, any type of food or any type of calories in between the meals. It's something I'm completely against too. So 4 to 5 hours should be a gap in between the first meal to the second, regardless if you have breakfast or you don't. Even if you begin the day at 12, you do not have coffee with milk an hour after. It's the worst thing you can do. So you will start your metabolism again. The glucose, insulin, everything will kick on. So the body will think you'll consume some food. So basically we'll turn our bloodstream into a glucose roller coaster where sugar will go down, insulin will kick in, it's going to go back down. It's going to affect how you're going to concentrate, how you're going to think, how you're going to feel. It's going to make you sleepy, drowsy, and you're going to also, most likely will have some problems with the weight. So first thing is no snacking. If you eat something, you control the meal, you finish the meal in 40 minutes and it's done. You do not eat anything. You can drink water, you can drink any type of tea, you can drink black coffee, you can drink espresso, but you do not consume any milk products, even oat milks or any other plant-based milks is also considered food. Those are my two tips, which is like regardless, most people do not have the system and they have pretty chaotic day. They do not eat on the first part of the day because they don't have time. Then they eat something at, let's say, around afternoon, or they have lunch, and then they consume everything they can when they come home. Either on the way home, in the store, in the car, while prepping dinner, after dinner, because the body is, of course, in a need of those nutrients. It's been hungry for the whole day. Cortisol levels are high because the person is working, stressing out, so on. We do not feel the cortisol levels because we are used to living in such a high stress levels. Our body doesn't even signal us that we can actually, eat something. Sometimes we feel fine just by having the first part of the day not eating anything at all. But we do snack, most people.
Okay.
So those are the things we can fix straight away. They will give you very fast results. In a week, you will see results.
In a week. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, that depends, of course, what you consider results, but it's definitely going to be some weight loss. If you have excess weight, that's one thing. And then you need to cut off the sugars. Sugar is basically number one aging and number one problem in the world. And you cannot just think about sugar as sugar. You need to understand the carbohydrate system. So bread, pasta, potatoes is also sugar. So chocolate, pastries is, maybe
all those things
are very tasty, and of course we get used to them, and it's basically like narcotics. So we get used to them so quick. The more we consume, the more we crave. So we need to train our bodies and to do a simple detox.
So the drug number one in the world is sugar, right?
It is number one drug. Yeah, mice would always choose sugar over cocaine. If you put them in a basket and you would give them cocaine for a week and then sugar for a week, then we would put them in a box and give them sugar and cocaine. 9 out of 10 mice will go to sugar and not cocaine. So it gives better dopamine drop than any drugs.
Okay.
So that's something we need to think about. So cut off sugar, systematic approach, no snacking. Coffee with milk is also considered food, so you only drink coffee with milk with a meal. And protein intake is the fourth one. It's very low because protein is not complex, but you always normally need to prepare something to consume protein. You cannot just walk in any type of store and just grab a healthy protein. It's easier to grab a...
But you can buy protein chocolate or protein cocktail. You can have
protein cocktail, yes.
What's the difference here between foods, protein, and
processed foods are always going to be easier for our body to break down. Sometimes we can, swap our meal with a protein drink, but not regularly, because protein drink is going to be very simple, already ready mixtured meal, which basically just goes through our tubes and our small intestines absorbs the amino acids he needs. If you have a steak or whatever, let's say, protein meal, our body will take a lot of energy, up to 30%, to break down that protein source and to consume the protein from there. So it will actually have to spend some energy to get the energy from that food. If you give it liquid-based food, it's very simple. So our body's metabolism speed drops, not rapidly, but slowly if you swap every meal with protein drink. So it has to be from time to time, not every day, but it's a good option you mentioned. Of course, it's better than having a box of chocolate or whatever, chocolate bar.
Just ordering some burger.
Yeah, or ordering some. That's a lot better. So there are some options, but we need to understand. We have to have the knowledge. When you walk in somewhere, you need to understand what are your choices and what can you choose.
Well, to me, it sounds like I don't know. A real estate project, the nutrition strategy, a personal nutrition strategy, sounds very complex. And
it is as complex you want it to be. Now maybe I'm talking complicated, but it all depends on the person.
But you are mentioning all those aspects behind the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all depends from the person who walks in, how easy or how complex he or she wants it to be. So I can make it very complex and I can make it very simple. So that's why it's very, depends from a person.
Significant part of our relationship with the food is emotional. Can we talk about emotional eating?
Yeah, it's a complicated topic. I would say that some part of us, everyone has some part of emotional behaviors regarding food, but it all begins in the childhood. I believe so. So an example would be you go and see the dentist and the mom would buy the kids something sweet after the dentist because it was something unpleasant for him or her to to do in the first place. You get a good grade, and you get something sweet for your birthday, for Christmas. You would get like candy boxes and something. So the small treats with food and some sweet or salty pleasures normally begin in the childhood. And as grown-ups, we grow up. We have a hard day, a hard week. On the weekend, we tend to go somewhere else and eat something, let's say, tasty, or we have a glass of wine, and that's how we treat ourselves, and we give ourselves something, some small pleasure. I think that's part of an emotional eating habit as well, which begins in the childhood. We need to change the eating behavioral patterns by giving some other, happy pleasures that would give us also dopamine, or the, happiness hormone, which would be endorphins, with sports, with physical activities, with sunlight, with fresh air, a walk, friends, so on. Of course, you're smiling, but it's...
I'm smiling because I'm trying to imagine this on, I don't know, if you have a Christmas Eve, for example, and the family goes to the gym.
Yeah, that would probably not be on Christmas, but I'm talking about more of a daily habit, such as hard day, and you actually treat yourself, or you have a hard task at work, and you tend to eat the chocolate, so you think it was going to be easier for you to, end a task or to get better results.
There are some common triggers. I mean, anger, stress, I don't know. There are some common emotional triggers which are triggering.
I believe it normally begins in the childhood, but it's not that easy to fix as well. It's a long pattern, same as you would see a nutritionist. It's never going to be one-time visit normally.
Yeah.
It's going to be something we will have to work on for at least 3, 4, 6 months, sometimes a year, depending on the person. So you can never fix something in 1 hour, which you have had for 40 or 20, 10 years in before,
So, but that's very obvious actually, and I think we are still keeping rewarding our kids with candies if they do something good for us. And if we are not able to change these habits by ourselves, how?
I would normally send the patient, not the patient, the customer, patient, depends on client. Yeah, you can call them different ways. I would send them to see a specialist, a therapist. My mother actually is a therapist, so I've been grown in an environment by understanding a lot of things.
So you didn't get candies in your childhood?
I didn't get that much candies, actually. Yes, she did put a lot of effort in raising me regarding food, so I didn't have a lot of sugar when I was growing up. I actually only found out a lot of things when I was in the first grade, when you go to school and you come back from school and the kids go into the store and you have your first pocket money. Only then I began to understand how much sugar options there are. Until then, she was raising me in this small bubble. Of course, I did have candy and some stuff as other normal children, but I tend to have more of very healthy food. So she also helps with a lot of my clients. So I tend to send some of my patients or clients to her because she's specializing into eating behavioral habits as well. And it's as much as information I've had from her. I do understand it's also very complicated, process even for her. And she's been, studied for that for years, and she goes through different methods to even get to the bottom of the problem. So eating or emotional eating is a very complicated subject. I do talk about it with my clients on the consultation, but I do not go too deep inside of it because I think it's already something that person needs to work with a therapist. So it depends how deep is it and how complex. So if the person cannot follow some simple instructions and he tends to fall off those instructions, we need to understand where is the pattern coming from.
You know what I like? That we just found out that sometimes if you have health-related problems, it's not always the same method should be used to treat it. So as a nutrition, for example, we just found out that the emotional eating, the cause of emotional eating might be a mental health, even spiritual health. And here we found out that interdisciplinary approach is required to such cases, right? And most of people, they are thinking if they have eating habits, bad eating habits, or nutrition, bad nutrition, structure so they can fix just changing their diet, but we found out that it's not like this as well. And maybe the part of the holistic approach might be also this consultation with the therapist.
Yeah, consultation with a therapist would be very useful. I think I tend to give some tips which I have created myself for women. For example, if it's a weight loss goal, I tend to create a system. For example, she wants to lose 15 kilograms. We put the final goal. So if she's gonna, let's say she weighs 75, she wants to weigh 60. When she will weigh 60, she will buy a trip with girls to Thailand, which is pretty expensive. It will, put some effort into it. And within every 3 to 4 kilos, she has a small goal she buys for herself. Either it's a handbag, or she goes to a concert, she goes for massage, she goes to a small trip to the countryside and rents herself whatever, something. So it depends from the person. Either it's a physical pleasure or it's a concert. It's never food. So it shouldn't be food, but something she likes, either some kind of, feminine thing or something that she fancies. She wouldn't buy for herself. Then when she achieves that goal, she actually goes and buys that thing for herself. And that works really good. So it depends on the person, depends on the things he or she likes. You create a goal set for yourself, and then you when you achieve that goal, you give yourself a reward. So the reward can be different. It depends on, as we talked about, different things. But it's same with kids. You don't reward them with candy, but reward them with something else. Maybe a toy, maybe a game, maybe something else fun that they would like to experience, or something they would like to see. That's going to be a lot better than giving them food. Same with a person, a grown-up. We actually like those rewards. When you achieve something, you'll say, wow, I've achieved something. So, and it works with a lot of most clients. And then they send me those pictures from that Thailand trip in a swimsuit.
Yeah.
And then
of course they enjoy it.
They're very happy, and they remember how they set that goal and how rewarding it is now to wear something that they like, and they feel good in their body, they feel confident. The whole atmosphere and the way they look at other people and the way they treat themselves changes. So it's
I think it's one of the way also how we can teach ourselves self-respect. So a self-respected person will never harm his body.
Yeah, self-love, of course. Yeah, self-respect and self-love. It's also therapeutical conversation. So nutrition therapy, nutritionist work, and mental work, it's pretty, combined. So most of my time when in the consultation cabinet, I do not talk about nutrition itself. We do talk about the habits, behavioral thoughts, what the person thinks of himself, how he approaches himself. So it's actually therapy at the same time. I think it would be very useful for a nutritionist to finish some therapy courses, because it will help with, how we would work with those clients, because it works. How to communicate, how to give those tips. Yeah. I know those things because of my mother, but it's very useful if you would have some extra information, because it's mostly mental work.
Okay. The other topic.
Yep.
The other topic, very sensitive, also very emotional, also very harmful to a lot of people and persons. We live in a world with extremely high beauty standards. Mm-hmm. And some of persons who are experiencing a pressure from that might be using very harmful weight loss methods or weight management methods. Yeah. Have you had any experience with such individuals?
Yes, it's also complicated. I have some experience with that, but it's not very easy for me to change their opinion just by telling them some information. They have had so many opinions before. They normally know what's best for themselves. So you cannot change their thoughts on how they should or shouldn't eat, or what they do or what they shouldn't do, just by having one consultation, because they are completely sure that the best way how to do it is strict themselves with a very low calorie diet, very high intensity training at the same time, very low minerals, vitamins. So basically they tend to harm their body to the max. Normally these cases stop when the person's health immunity drops. Either they get ill or they tend to, break down in some mental cases as well, because of course the mental health will be affected in this scenario as well. And then either they get to a good doctor who puts some sense in them and create some healthy patterns, or they can continue in this way throughout the whole life. So people tend to have these short-term diets. So I want to look good for my friend's wedding and I want to lose 10 kilos in 2 weeks. So they put themselves on, let's say, salads, an apple, and whatever cottage cheese. So very low calories. The body is in very high stress. The cortisol goes out to the roof. The person, of course, loses the weight, maybe not all of it, but as soon as they get back on even normal eating, not something unhealthy, the weight comes back very fast. So they do this yo-yo effect of diets throughout the whole of their life because they torture themselves so bad when they eat healthy. So they think that healthy eating is a torture in general because they only know torture. So they always torture themselves by ultra low calories, ultra high intensity workouts. So everything is very, very restricted. The person very quickly feels tired from that. Most likely will fall off the diet, most likely will fall off the plan. And it's a kind of bad experience. So it's very important for them to gain their trust, to tell them that, yes, you can trust me, and yes, you should try to trust me. Let's do an experiment. You would trust what I tell you to eat for 2 weeks. See what kind of results you have, see how you feel, how your body feels. If it's bad, then it's okay. You can continue what you're doing. Normally they accept the offer, they do try. And as soon as they understand, wow, I can actually eat so much food and I can feel so good. I don't have to restrict myself with such low calories and I can get the same result and the weight doesn't come back. They kind of understand that healthy eating doesn't have to be very restrictive. It just has to be mindful. You need to understand the differences. You don't have to harm your body to achieve what you want to achieve. So, yeah, I normally offer them some experimental trust game or whatever you can call it. And if they trust me, I know what I'm doing. So then we can try to put them back on the right path. And if they find, wow, this is something new and I can feel so good in this way, then it works in long term as well.
Yeah, so you have the same hard work in establishing trust, communication, and collaboration with clients.
Yeah, I just basically beg them, would you like to trust my opinion as the only opinion? I know you have so many opinions in your head. You have read so many books, so many articles, so many research and so on. You know a lot of things, and I'm not saying everything you know is bad or everything you know it's not necessary. You just put it in a box, close the box, and put it aside for a bit. You can open the box anytime you want, just for 2 weeks. Trust what I'm saying, just do what I'm saying and see how you feel. And they're like, okay, what can happen in 2 weeks? But normally we tend to have some, healthy in between. In a while, I normally give them some instructions how to live for the rest of their lives. It doesn't have to follow a strict diet plan forever or use my recipes forever, but we need to have some common grounds on what we do and what we don't do. So they can take something out from the box of knowledge they had before and mix it up with mine. And then we can have some healthy conversations about the things they can put in or take out. And they ask questions. And the more they follow the plan, the more questions they have. And they start to get some information and some sense in their body, how it feels, how it responds to certain foods, certain patterns they do. Yep.
So it's crafting personal balance.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's crafting their own healthy lifestyle. And every healthy lifestyle is going to be a little different. So it depends on the person who comes and sees me. So.
Okay. Can you describe more those emotional patterns which person's experiencing during this transformation?
Depends, of course. A lot of things I think comes from support at home as well. If the person has a family and the family doesn't eat healthy, so it's very hard to come home if someone's eating really unhealthy right next to you. So it has to be something that a household would agree on. If
Emotional support you're talking
someone would give emotional support, which is coming into some healthy habits as well. So if one person is going to try to eat healthy and the rest of the family is going to cook something which is probably not that healthy, and it will most likely drag the person back to the old habits because he cannot have this support team. So it's normally something that the family needs to agree on. So a question I normally ask is someone else experiencing any type of problems with eating habits or weight gain in your family as well? So then we will look at the family in general, not just one person in particular, because you need to change the whole system. Because I cannot put a perfect apple back in a bowl of rotten ones if I would give like a very strict opinion, because it's never going to stay healthy. It's going to go back to the old habits eventually.
Sandija, we discussed about high beauty standards in the world. A lot of social media showing us how man should look like. At his age of 45, he should be a muscle monster, or a lady should be fit and almost artificial, I would say, at some cases. If I would ask you one question, being beautiful or healthy, what you would choose?
I would try to choose both. I don't think you need to choose between beautiful or healthy, because healthy is going to be beautiful. But then it's a fragile line between being healthy and being beautiful. So we tend to have a lot of women with plus size, and we have this movement on the internet saying that it's okay, we need to accept everybody. I do agree on that. There shouldn't be no body shaming, or shouldn't put people down with having excess weight, and agreeing to have that weight and do not want to change anything with that, but their body needs to be healthy. We need to understand what is behind that weight. If the person is healthy, it's okay. And in my opinion, they can be beautiful with excess weight as well, but they have to have a healthy blood work, healthy sleep, healthy mind. If everything goes well in that scenario, then I'm okay with that. Most cases, of course, excess weight do change some measurements either in our blood or in our system. We can actually see that the differences should be done in nutrition or healthy habits. So it's a complicated subject, but I do agree as well that the beauty standards have changed. If we look at some, not even that far of a history, we can see that they have changed a lot. There have been so many different beauty standards, and just a few hundred years ago, actually women with some, let's say,
Overweight.
Overweight were considered beautiful, healthy, and actually attractive to men. And it's the opposite at the moment, but it will change again within time. We just don't feel it that much. It's changing within every couple of years, actually. Some trends are happening. So the fitness industry and influencers are dictating most of the social media. So we do see some ideal fit type of women at the moment, but just like 10 years ago, they were not that trendy. It wasn't so trendy for women to have abs or trained body. It was more likely just to be, average size, and you don't have to be such slim body as well. So the trends are changing at all the time. What I'm trying to say, it's important for each person to understand which is their body and what type of healthy we can achieve with their body. So it's also very different.
So you know how to achieve both health and beauty.
Hopefully, I think I can help the person to get closer to what they would like to. I never put someone in a box and tell, you should weigh this and that, or you should look like this and that. They tell me themselves how they feel the best in their body. And my job is to help them to achieve that version of themselves, regardless of what they want.
Okay. We also found a very significant aspect that family support for an individual who wants to change his life habit is necessary. And therefore, on the market, we have different options for these kind of aspects. For example, communities. So there are a lot of diets, and behind those diets there are communities, like keto, for example, or any other fasting.
Yep.
So what do you think in that sense, if the person wants to drop his weight or manage his weight properly, joining to some community, is it an option?
It is an option depending on the community, depending what's the information behind the community. It's definitely better than doing something from out of the blue that the person just all of a sudden hears from his neighbor's friend or something, that it has some kind of background behind it. So it should be some research behind it. My opinion, the best option would be to see someone and then decide what's best for them, because just by deciding from tomorrow onwards I will do fasting, or from tomorrow onwards I will do keto diet, most likely will harm the body, because we need to gradually get you there before you decide to have one meal a day or to completely cut out carbohydrates from your diet. Because if you will not like that diet, and if you will decide to go back to the previous eating habits, most likely it will harm your body very badly, and you will gain weight, or you will change all the hormonal system, or your metabolism speed will rapidly decrease. So a lot of things can be affected in a harmful way if you don't know how to do it correctly. So any type of way is fine. Any person can eat keto, and most any person can go into fasting, but it should be done in the right way, depending on a community. If they will teach the person or have enough information for the person to understand how to correctly walk into that type of diet, then it's okay. If not, then it might be harmful.
Okay, so we found out that the family or community support is crucial, but the personalized method is more efficient. Personalized method doesn't have so much emotional reward, right?
Yeah.
In terms of if we compare to the community. So personal approach also teaches us self-respect, that the person can develop within the time some emotional awards where a person exchanges those rewards. Instead of eating something tasty, as you said, he or she can enjoy other activity.
Yep.
And these are two type of options people have. And I really like the message about emotional impact, that nutrition plan should contain also a mental health work.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this insight. Sandija, I would like to ask you about personalization. Why it's much way better than instead of buying any kind of drug which helps you to lose the weight, or it's just sitting at some diet? Why the personalization is so much more effective, and but in the same time it's much more difficult, of course, to execute it, because people don't feel emotional support, as we found out. And maybe we can start with the term personalization. What does it mean to you, to nutritionist, and what does it mean to the person?
So personalized medicine or personalized nutrition plan or personalized anything is going to be completely different than something we could make on average, because we need to take into consideration everything from A to Z. Firstly, the person's habits, sleep time, products he or she consumes, blood works, everything to do with any deficiencies the person has. So we need to look at the mineral, vitamin deficiencies, so everything which is out of the ordinary or out of the norms we would have on the blood work, fix those things. We cannot do that with something which is already made for everyone, so it will never affect and get such as good results if we would make it personalized. For the person, it of course takes a lot more effort, so a lot more things we need to do in advance before we can actually begin something with nutrition or any other support from holistic way or holistic medicine itself, but it's going to be a lot more effective. So it's just, I think if you put them in two cups, the one which would be personalized is always going to be more effective, and it's going to have better results in long term than something we would just take out of average.
Yeah, okay. I really like your answer, because at the first step we have assessment, right? Assessment stage, where also a person can identify maybe much better his habits, how they're impacting on his lifestyle, and at the same time he can get much more knowledge on himself, on his body also.
Exactly. Yeah.
So during this journey, person gets familiar with all those information.
Yeah, we do also some, if we're talking about nutrition, we also do metabolism checks, known as ClassMed.
Yeah.
It's a well-known method as well around the world, so we can see how fast is the person's metabolism working generally. Is their body breaking down fat after fasting period, or is the body still using carbohydrates or glucose? So a lot of those things we would never know if we wouldn't do that assessment phase you were talking about. And then, of course, the person said the right questions. So the specialist will ask the right questions to get the right answers. The person cannot always know what kind of questions what things he needs to look at. So there's a lot of complex things we need to put together to make the puzzle and to get the perfect plan for each person, because they can be very different one from the other.
All right. Do you believe that personalization also helps a person to exclude some certain health risks?
Of course, yes, because there are some things he or she cannot follow just because, for example, he's lacking iron levels, so his iron levels are low. It's going to be a lot harder for him or her to follow some certain diet just because the iron levels are low. It's going to tend him to have higher cortisol, higher glucose, harder to lose weight, harder to concentrate, tend to have more cravings for sugar or carbohydrates in general. So if we haven't found out that he has this deficiency, we wouldn't know how to fix all these symptoms. Even if I would give him the perfect diet, he would still fall off that diet because it's going to be very hard for him to follow.
Sandija, can you list 5 universal tips in order to prepare to start crafting your personalized experience towards healthy, happy, and energetic state?
Okay. Cut out sugar for 2 weeks as a minimum. Then afterwards, you can put it back in if you really want it, but reduce the amount of it. So it has to be very mindful sugar consumption, only post meals. So no snacking in between the meals would be the second. So returning to the first one, if you do consume sugar, it's only post meals, not in between the meals. Second tip is no snacking in between the meal. That means also no coffee with milk in between the meals. So if
But
you have
just coffee?
Black coffee is fine.
It's
so
fine.
Coffee with milk
Okay.
with the meal is better than having it in between. Okay. Third one would be set yourself a goal. So something you are aiming for, and have a structure for your day. If you decide to have 2 meals a day, that's fine. If you have decided to have 3 meals a day, but stick to the plan and control the structure. Do not skip the meals. Third one would be always control your protein intake. Most people have too much carbohydrates and they're lacking protein in their diet. That's on average for 9 out of 10 of my customers or my clients. That means controlling protein intake, controlling protein sources, regardless if you are a meat eater or you are vegetarian or even vegan, you need to control the protein intake. Thirdly would be have physical activities. Find a hobby, go outside for a walk, something that you do which will make your body move. You don't have to go to gym and lift weights if you don't want to. That would be the regulation to increase the amount of weight training, regardless if it's your own body weight or if it's gym with actually heavy weights. We should increase any type of weight training to maintain a healthy muscle mass, because you will tend to lose the muscle mass regardless of what you do. So after 30, every year, the muscle mass drops slowly. So to maintain a healthy muscle mass, to maintain a healthy metabolism, we have to have a lot of protein and a lot of strength training. So that would be the 5th one.
Okay, thank you. I think our listeners will love these tips. And if we discuss about how long it takes to develop such habits, maybe you can list some timelines, periods, different goals.
Roughly, if we're talking about weight loss, ideal weight loss, my opinion, would be around 700 to 1,000 grams a week, depending on the starting weight. We're not talking about 5 kilos. I'm talking about 20 plus kilos. That would be the rough estimate. How much they should lose in a week. So in a month, they should be able to lose around 4 to 5 kilos, depending also on the gender. For males is different.
And the age as
from
well.
Females, the age as well. Physical activities, also 50 other different factors which that affects, but that's on average. So if you set yourself a goal, you can see the first results in a week. I don't know if you will see them yourself in the mirror, so I advise to take some before pictures so you can actually see some, results in a couple of weeks even. Then it's regular weighing. You don't have to weigh yourself every day. That's only one of the aspects, of course. You can take measurements, take pictures, but you will see the first results in a week. So in a month, you should see already better results. Consistency is also the key, of course. One big key aspect is to maintain a structure for the weekends. Some people eat very, very good for 5 days a week, and as soon as Saturday, Sunday comes in, they kind of assume that this doesn't count. So then we can have like
cheat days.
Cheat weekends. So you can do very good and have very good results on Friday, and as soon as Saturday, Sunday comes in, it's alcohol, fast foods, irregular meals, lacking protein, too much carbs, too much sugar, too much caffeine, and so on. So those 2 days can actually completely destroy the week's work. So we need to decide to treat ourselves once a week for 1 hour. That's my tip. Yeah. So
advise that some of your customers, they were awarding themselves emotionally with different activities like buying a bag, buying
tickets for a theater or a concert. That's of course one option. But if we're talking about food, then if you want to have some type of, support from knowing that it's not going to be forever, then for 1 hour, once a week, you can have whatever you want. But for the rest of the week, you stick to the structure. So then you kind of choose wisely. You do not eat everything that comes in front of you. You only have 1 hour, then you can choose something that you really, really like and actually enjoy that thing.
Sandija, can you advise just one thing to somebody who listening us and feels completely struggled with his weight management tasks or weight management goals? What you would advise as a primer thing?
I think self-discipline is something that we shouldn't be scared of, something that we can be, assured that we won't fail. Regardless of how we will do, we will still try and we will still achieve some better results than we would have if we wouldn't do anything at all. So you cannot fail yourself. You cannot fail anything you try. If you do your best, you will still have some good results. So what I'm trying to say, we need to be strict with ourselves. We need to follow some plan we have decided to do, and we need to have very, very strict self-control of things we have decided to do. And then we can also reward ourselves. We can have a plan when we do reward ourselves, which is going to be 10 times more pleasant than doing it every day. So if you have something sweet, you have it once a week for 1 hour, and you still achieve great results, and you still promise yourself that on this Sunday or Saturday, I'm going to go and have that cake. It's going to make me happy, but it will still maintain the goal and maintain the way where I'm going to. And also, do not fall off the grid so easily. The first challenges comes into our lives regardless of what we do, either it's business or it's personal or it's relationship. The first challenge cannot be the one where we just look at it and go, nah, I'm not going to try. That's too hard. I'm just going to turn back around and do whatever I was doing. We need to face those challenges because sometimes they're not as hard as we think. And it's actually so easy if we face those first challenges, we pass them, and then we understand, it wasn't even that hard. It's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
I can live like this, and it's not a diet, it's a healthy lifestyle. So I'm against calorie counting. Generally, I'm against strict diets. I'm trying to advise people to understand that the healthy lifestyle should be something like a mindset which you live in, and it's something that you understand, and you can easily live like that for a long period of time and do not feel like you need something extra. And the longer you live healthy, the better you're going to feel, and the less cravings you will have, and the less emotional eating, and the less of every bad habit you can imagine is going to come towards you.
So basically, the first, it's setting a faith or belief towards our own capabilities.
Exactly.
That we are able to achieve that goal. Right?
And I really like what you mentioned before, that you can have a race, but the only person who is racing is yourself.
Yeah.
And the prize is going to be the ultimate best version of yourself. But the place you will take in that race depends on the person. So you cannot achieve any position if you do not face any challenges. There will be struggles, there will be positions, temptations, so on, but there's something that we can stick to is believing ourselves. Do not be afraid of failure, and it's okay to start anytime. You just need to, understand it's not going to be easy, hopefully, but you need to be strict to yourself. Sometimes people are we just tend to, care for our feelings so much that we just allow ourselves to fall off by the first challenge we have, or the first temptation is, I just feel that I really want the chocolate today, so I'm just, whatever. I'm going to drop the diet.
Maybe you can set a failure goal for the failures. So today I will fail 2 times, so I'm allowing.
Yeah, so there should be something that you allow yourself, you talk to yourself, and you decide, and be mindful with the eating. Do not put yourself into some harsh restrictions, but you need to control and understand the things you consume as well.
Sandija, thank you very much for this insightful conversation. Very empathic, very emotional aspects we discussed, and also very informative things we mentioned. I think our listeners will love this episode. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully see you sometime again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today, and see you in the next episode.